Hey there, welcome to another tutorial. This one is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be focusing on a very specific detail related to good code practices that have the aim to minimize your errors as a programmer. Essentially, we're using the provider package. We have a list right here, and we're accessing that list through a different page. And when we hit this button, we wanted to add another element to the list. And I'm going to explain what is the best way to do that, the best practice. It's a very small detail, but it just might help you in the future. So just stick around and learn. So here we are, and let me just take you through this real quick. I have already installed the provider package over here in the pubspec.yaml. If you don't know how to use this file, you can click the video on the top right. We also have this going on right here, the change notifier provider on the main.dart, and this is the provider file. The only thing it has is this list. That's it. And this list right here is exactly what you see over here. And the way that happens is by using a spread operator and then accessing the list through the provider.of method and then picking the list, right? Like this. If you don't know anything about the provider package, this expression right here is essentially how you reach whatever is on this file right here. As you can see, it's called myListTiles, and if I delete this, and I delete the dot, and I hit the dot again, myListTiles is what shows up. If there was more information, more methods, or more variables, or more lists, then they would also show up in this list. That's pretty much it. So the goal here is to press this button and add an element to the list, and I just realized this needs to be updated. In this case, I gotta do restart the app. I'm not sure if anyone's going to search this up or if anybody even cares, but basically I'm talking about good coding practices and ways to make sure you don't forget how you should do things, because if you do it like I'm about to show you, it's not going to work. Basically, just imagine you have this app and you want this button to add another element to the list. So you come over here to the onPressed, and essentially you probably do this, provider.of context, and then you put in the provider data type, which is this right here, in case you don't know. And then you would do .myListTiles.add. And then here, you would put in what you're going to add to the list. In this case, it's a container with this information. I don't think that there's any point to making this complicated. So it's really basic. We just want to add this already typed out element of the list to the list, which is a purple list tile that is the fourth tile. But if I restart the app like this and I hit the button, nothing happens. It does not work. It doesn't update the UI. And one of the reasons this didn't work is because if you check right here, there was an error, and it's essentially because I didn't add in the listen false. So let me take care of that right away. That's about it. If I do it again, now there's no error. So I'm gonna add in a print statement that prints out the list after this code right here has been run. And my bad here, I meant print like this. Let me save this. And funnily enough, we don't even need the list anymore, because just by hitting hot reload, the list updated to what it is. So as you can see, we actually added it twice already. And if I hit it again, we're going to get another error because I forgot to add the listen false here again. Sorry about that. I'm going to hit save again. And once again, there's a new element to the list. And if I hit it again, as you can see, this is the list. And this is the purple hex color. So we can count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's already 4 purple tiles. So effectively, we're adding in the tiles, but they're not showing up. And that's because you need a method that is notify listeners. However, this method isn't available right here, because this method comes from this class right here, which we are extending in our provider data file. And this is a method that updates all the places that are listening for the updated property so that they can redraw and rebuild whenever necessary. Right now, this list right here, as you can see, it doesn't say listen false. It is listening, but there's nothing notifying this listener right here. So the list visually does not change. It does not get updated. So what you do need to do instead is, and again, within this class right here, you create a method, you call it whatever you want, and then here you give it what the method is going to take. In this case, it's a widget, because don't forget, this is a list of type widget. And I'll just call this new tile. And then here you gotta do exactly what we did before, myListTiles.add. And here you use the new tile argument. But now we add in the notify listeners method. And as you can see, it works now. So if I restart the app and I come over here, and instead of this right here, I do instead dot, and it's over here, add to list, and down in here I do add the container and the list tile. And if I save it and I press it now, as you can see, it got updated because this right here is listening and it notified it. However, what I'm talking about regarding good coding practices is that this list should never be made public, because a while later you might forget about this. You might forget about the small detail that is having to use a notify listeners, and then you'll do the same mistake. And besides, you don't want to allow your list to be changed from anywhere in the app. That's just usually not a good idea. So to prevent yourself from doing that, we should make this private, like so. We'll do the same thing here. However, now that we come back here, if we try to do this, it doesn't work because it's a private list now. And the potential solution would be to create a different list just to get that list. Something like this. And here you just return the original list. So if you come over here and you change this to get list, if we restart this again and we add to the list, it will still work. All is good. However, imagine that further along in your app creation, you run into the same part. You need to add to the list through a button, and you just happen to forget about this. You completely forgot you had to use this method right here. I'm talking about this one. And so you just do the same thing that you did before. The same mistake. Because it's been a few days or maybe a week and you just forgot about it. It's perfectly normal. And you're like, okay, get list. Maybe you named it differently. Maybe you didn't name it something so obvious. Dot add, right? And let me just add this here. I'm not forgetting about it this time. And then you just take the element that you want to add to the list, like so. And this is you like a week later. You don't remember. So you go ahead and you do the same mistake. And once again, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to hit the button and nothing's going to happen. The app is going to completely ignore you. So we're right back where we started. We're right back to the same problem we had. And we finally get to what this video is about, which is about the unmodifiable list view. Now, the first thing you need to do to use it is import something called Dart collection. And again, all this effort is just to minimize coding errors, which is why I'm calling it a good coding practice. And as you should know, whenever you can, make your variables and methods private. Sometimes I don't do it in the videos, but that's just because they're videos and I'm focusing on something else. But anyway, now that we have the Dart collection imported, instead of this right here, we do unmodifiable list view right here. And the name can be a little bit confusing. Maybe you think it has something to do with the list view widget, but it's really not. Just like it says right here, it is a view of another list. That's it. It's a view of another list. It's essentially like you're grabbing a mirror and you're pointing it to this list, and that reflection is what you're going to place here. Or like you're seeing the list from the window. You can see it, but you can't touch it. Something like that. But anyway, then you also do this right here, and you wrap this with parentheses. And now this is officially an unmodifiable list view. If I hit restart the app and I try to do this thing right here, remember it's the same list. I'm going to hit this so we can see what happens, and I'm going to hit the button and an error is thrown. And it says right here, unsupported operation cannot add to an unmodifiable list. And at this point you're like, oh shit, that's right. I'm not doing this the right way. And then you're like, okay, so this wasn't what I was supposed to do. Let me just uncomment this. And now this is what you want to end up with. You want to end up with the list being displayed because you're using the list that is a mirror of the original list right here. But the list itself is private and you can only access it within this file right here. So whenever you need to add or maybe you need to remove something from the list, you just add a method like this to this file right here. So what you're displaying is the unmodifiable list view right here. And then once you want to add, remember, you're using this method right here. So when you add, everything's okay. You can't change the list from a different file. And this is just a much more organized way to go about things. I hope this video can help you become a better and more successful programmer. If it did help you, please leave me a like and subscribe to watch more Flutter tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. This is Flutter Mentor and out.